Hello YouTubers, this is Cessna Ace back again with another 10 video ads video. Once again concentrating on VHS tapes, as this is the format I have the largest backlog on of videos to show. But I do have quite a few Laserdiscs to show in future videos, as well as DVDs. And I've got a video game coming. I've always got a video game coming. In this particular case, a game for the Sega Master System, winging its way from Australia, unless it's already in the country and I don't know about it. From Reader's Digest Home Video, the 100 funniest moments of the 20th century, the unexpected. See uproarious outtakes from the days when television was live, including Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca's send-ups of a trolley car named Desire, and From Here to Obscurity, plus footage of world leaders and famous celebrities caught with egg on their well-known faces. From Bogey to Betty Davis, from James Cagney to Claudette Colbert. See Princess Di hitting Prince Charles over the head with a special effects champagne bottle. Gerald Ford tripping. George Bush bowling. Richard Nixon in an unexpected duet with Pearl Bailey. Not even John Wayne can get it right! Exclamation point. A lot more text, which I'm not going to bother reading. And as I show cartridges when I'm showing video games, only natural that I show cartridges, cassettes, when I'm showing videotapes. Although with Laserdisc, don't expect me to pull out each Laserdisc and show that. Bubblegum Crisis, Tokyo 2040, Volume 3. Published by ADV Films. Each volume has 2 episodes. These are English dubbed versions. I would prefer English subtitled, but I couldn't find any of those at the flea market. And so far, all of the anime that I have found from ADV are in white shells, which kind of freaks out the automatic contrast and white balancing on this web camera. But if I take it and turn off the auto white balancing and so forth, it looks like crap. Pardon the language. Bubblegum Crisis, Tokyo 2040, Volume 4. But I have to tell you, all of the anime that I have been finding at the flea market has been in wonderful condition. And I attribute this to the fact that it was the buyer that I bought them from, or I should say the seller I bought them from at the flea market, had bought them all from a single collector, and she had just bought them when I happened across her area. Bubblegum Crisis, Tokyo 2040, Volume 5. And I know I'm not making sense. I've been falling a lot lately, and I keep landing on my head. Some of you might find that funny. Well, I think it's funny sometimes too. My wife always makes the comment, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but can't help it. My equilibrium is just so screwed up. Okay. Ballistic X versus Seaver. This is a former rental copy, and the way I know, it's rather obvious. But that is sadly quite common at the flea market to find copies that had once been rentals from the Bible collection, Jacob. And what I find interesting about this release is that it was published by Turner Home Entertainment. And if I'm not mistaken, Ted Turner is an atheist. Perhaps it's just a money thing and he figures that he can make some money off the rubes like me. This was originally a British-Italian co-produced miniseries, but it was also released theatrically. Now, the miniseries version ran well over 300 minutes. I'm thinking 360, but it might have been 340, but in any event, well over 300 minutes. The theatrical version runs 141 minutes, and that's what this is. Moses, starring Burt Lancaster. As well as Anthony Quayle and others. No spine label at all on that one. Okay, next up we have Reindeer Games. Includes sizzling, never-before-seen footage not shown in the original theatrical, DVD, or videocassette releases. The extra footage is about 20 minutes in length. Yes, I bought another slow-speed tape published by Good Times Home Video. The Sentinel. I really should stop doing that, but what the hey, they're only $1. But what really irked me about the practice of recording movies and such in slow speed, it didn't save them a whole lot of money. When you buy duplicator stock, they have various lengths, and to release something on, say, a 50-minute tape only costs about 5 cents, maybe 10 cents less than on a 120-minute cassette. So they were just saving pennies, but really making the viewing experience a bad one. Enough of that rant. Finally, Tommy from the old label RCA Columbia Pictures Home Video. It's actually quite rare for me to find an RCA Columbia Pictures Home Video cassette where the case, or the box I should say, is in such good condition. And Margaret, Oliver Reed, Roger Daltrey. Also featuring Elton John as the Pinball Wizard. Guest artists Eric Clapton, John Entwistle, Keith Moon, Paul Nicholas, Jack Nicholson, Robert Powell, Pete Townsend, Tina Turner, and The Who. Of course, I'm a big pinball fan. This leads me to a story. I have to tell it. Might have told it before, but I can't remember. But locally, the video arcades only have one pinball machine in them. And it's usually a machine from Bally. It was part of their Video 2000 series called Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, this particular arcade that I went into, their machine was in rough shape. But at least the screen could be seen easily. So I played a few games on that. This was some time ago. And you know how when you're playing a game, you get in the zone and you play like you've never played before? Well, that's what happened with one of the games that I played on that machine there at this arcade. I wound up with the high score on that machine, and it was a pretty high score. I don't recall off the top of my head what it was, but when I got home, I immediately went online to the Twin Galaxies site. Twin Galaxies publishes high scores for various arcade machines and pinball machines and the like, and they're also the official scorekeeper, if you will, for the Guinness Book of World Records. Well, I went on their site and I saw that had I been at a sanctioned event where they have referees watching everything, my score would have been the third highest in the world for that machine. Star Wars 1. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I haven't gotten close to that score since. But every time I went into the arcade there at the mall, I would check, and I still had the highest score for the longest time. And then I just gave up going in there and looking. But I wish I could duplicate that again, because if you go to Disney World, there are a ton of resorts there on property, and all the ones I've been at have arcades. And most of the arcades have pinball machines, although not all of them. But where you're going to find the most pinball machines at Disney World is the Magic Kingdom. Right next to Space Mountain, there's an arcade. You exit Space Mountain, and if you just go straight through the shop there, which they have you do quite cleverly, you get off Space Mountain, you go through a shop to get out. If you go just straight out, you're not going to notice that if you make a sharp right, there's an arcade there. In fact, there's not even a big sign that says arcade. So unless you are hearing arcade noises, or already know that there's an arcade there, you may not know there's an arcade there. And that arcade has a whole line of pinball machines. And every time I go, I have to go to the Magic Kingdom. That's a rule with me. Whenever we go to Walt Disney World, we have to hit the Magic Kingdom first. That's just the way I am, because I started going to Walt Disney World about 6 months after it opened. Of course, I was much younger then, and my parents was taking me, but I have to go to the Magic Kingdom. And now that I know about their arcade, I have to go to the Magic Kingdom so that I can go to their arcade. I, of course, have attractions that I always want to go on, like Haunted Mansion. I have to do Haunted Mansion, especially since they did their revamp on the line, the queue line going in and coming out. They've made it interactive, and it's really cool. Used to ride it, at the end they would warn you about hitchhiking ghosts, and then you go past this mirror and you could see you in the car and whoever else was with you and one of the hitchhiking ghosts. But they've changed that so that various things can happen. A ghost will appear, for example, and blow your head up to where it bursts like a balloon, or it'll take your head off and put it on the person next to you, and take their head and put it on top of you. Really cool. Anyway, the arcade. They've got Indiana Jones from Stern. This isn't based on any one movie, it's based on all of them. and it's a really cool machine. Beautiful condition. If I didn't already say, made by Stern. Next to that is another machine from Stern called Elvis, which is a really nice machine. Next to it is, well, the last time I was in there, it was Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean by Stern. Beside it was a machine that when you powered it on, you heard Sega Frankenstein, based on the movie. And it gives you two soundtrack options. You can either listen to music from the film along with sound clips, or you can select music from, well, the song Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group. You know, dun 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 dun. That machine is rather worn out. I wish Disney would do something about it. Not pull it, just restore it to its original glory, because all the other machines in there are in beautiful condition. Next to it was Roller Coaster Tycoon by Stern. I don't care for that table. I play it when I go in there because it's there, and I rarely come across pinball machines here locally that aren't Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, except for at Chuck E. Cheese's they have The Simpsons by Stern. Next to Roller Coaster Tycoon, they have Star Wars 1, or Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace by Stern. Beautiful condition. Part of the Video 2000 series. And then next to it, they have another pinball machine from the Video 2000 series from Bally that I haven't seen anywhere else. I'm not saying it's not anywhere else. I'm just saying I never find it anywhere else. And that is Revenge from Mars. And I love playing that game. I wish, I don't have anything against Stern. I love Stern because they are keeping pinball machines alive. Pinball machines are very expensive to make. There's a show I watch on the History Channel called Modern Marvels, and within that show they have some installments they do like engineering disasters, and they'll have engineering disasters 1 or engineering disasters 2, whatever. Well, there's a coin operated series within Modern Marvels, and in one of the shows they went into the Stern factory, and they show you all the steps involved in making a pinball machine, and it's really quite amazing and quite understandable that pinball machines are as expensive as they are because they're handmade. Yes, they have an assembly line, but none of it's automated. Within a pinball machine you have miles and miles of wiring, and it's all done by hand. And Stern makes machines that have a lot of electromechanical doodads that move around and so forth in them. Those have to be put in by hand, of course. Even designing a pinball machine is expensive. Just taking an existing pinball machine design and retheming it according to this program cost $400,000. To start from scratch and build a pinball machine from a totally new design costs a minimum of $1 million. This is because they have to design it on the computer. Then they have to create mock-ups, and then they have to create a full-size working prototype. Iron out all the bugs and so forth with that before they make it. And Stern, the way they do their pinball machines is unlike the way they were done back in the day when you had Stern and Chicago Coin and Data East and Sega Pinball and Bally, Midway. I know those two eventually merged, I believe, and Gottlieb, and on and on. Back then, they would come out with a new pinball machine design, and it would be on the market for a year or 2 years, maybe 3, depending on its popularity. And on some machines, the production run would be as high as 17,000. I mean, This was back in the glory days of pinball, late 60s, early 70s, before video games invaded arcades. The way Stern does it is they make a run of about 500, and then they move on to the next table that they're going to produce. And then once they make 500 of those, they move on to the next table. Well, unlike other companies that have operated in the past, Stern keeps parts and the templates and everything necessary to produce all the machines they've produced. And if there's enough demand, they can go back and reproduce that model. And I was kind of surprised to learn that the majority of pinball machines that Stern makes goes overseas. And of those that stay in the U.S., the majority go to private collectors. And considering that pinball machines run anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 to $9,000 a piece, depending on what they are and how involved they are, you're talking about a lot of money. There are several stores here, including one right near us, that sell pinball machines. And I went into one last year, I believe it was. Used to be an Ethan Allen store, but now they sell pinball machines and pool tables and the like. And he had a roll of pinball machines there. All of them beautiful. From Stern, from Gottlieb, from Sega, from Bally. And I asked him, since I noticed that he had machines from manufacturers that no longer make pinball machines, what all he could get. He said, well, he could get anything. Even the pinball machines that were made in, I believe it was Italy. But it's all a matter of what you're willing to pay. As some machines are hard to track down, and once you track them down, they might have to be refurbished, restored. But one cool thing was, he told me that they will deliver and set up. I just don't have $5,000 to $8,000. Anyway, I've gone on way too long once again, so until next time, stay awesome. From ADV are in white shells, which kind of freaks out the automatic contrast and white balancing on this web camera, but if I take it and turn off the auto white balancing and so forth, it looks like crap. Pardon the language. Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 Volume 4. But I have to... Hello YouTubers, this is Cesta Ace back again with another 10 video ads video. Once again concentrating on VHS tapes, as this is the format I have the largest backlog on of videos to show. But I do have quite a few Laserdiscs to show in future videos, as well as DVDs. And I've got a video game coming. I've always got a video game coming. In this particular case, a game for the Sega Master System, winging its way from Australia, unless it's already in the country and I don't know about it. From Reader's Digest Home Video, the 100 funniest moments of the 20th century, the unexpected. See uproarious outtakes from the days when television was live, including Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca's send-ups of a trolley car named Desire, and From Here to Obscurity, plus footage of world leaders and famous celebrities caught with egg on their well-known faces. From Bogey to Betty Davis, from James Cagney to Claudette Colbert. See Princess Di hitting Prince Charles over the head with a special effects champagne bottle. Gerald Ford tripping. George Bush bowling. Richard Nixon in an unexpected duet with Pearl Bailey. Not even John Wayne can get it right! Exclamation point. A lot more text, which I'm not going to bother reading. And as I show cartridges when I'm showing video games, only natural that I show cassettes, when I'm showing videotapes. Although with Laserdisc, don't expect me to pull out each Laserdisc and show that. Bubblegum Crisis, Tokyo 2040, Volume 3. Published by ADV Films. Each volume has 2 episodes. These are English dubbed versions. I would prefer English subtitled, but I couldn't find any of those at the flea market. And so far, all of the anime that I have tell you, all of the anime that I have been finding at the flea market has been in wonderful condition. And I attribute this to the fact that it was the buyer that I bought them from, or I should say the seller I bought them from at the flea market, had bought them all from a single collector, and she had just bought them when I happened across her area. Bubblegum Crisis, Tokyo 2040, Volume 5. And I know I'm not making sense. I've been falling a lot lately, and I keep landing on my head. Some of you might find that funny. I think